Next up is the session, The Engineer's Compass, Navigating from Problem to Impact.
Lovely to see you all here today for its final session, or one of the final sessions of BTF. Today we're going to be talking to some of our esteemed engineers on what to do from problem to impact and how to make sure that when you're putting your ideas across that you're doing them as efficiently and as impactfully as possible.
My name's Ashley. I'm co-founder of Color and Tech. I just need to make an announcement for this session that for any media and journalists, it's off the record. This is for the engineering audience that we have here today, and that stuff is off the record for any media and any press. Thank you.
Okay, great. Let's welcome our esteemed engineers. We got Sim Chiwanza, Beatrice Bergami, and Daniel Alumana. Welcome, welcome. How's everybody feeling?
Good. Thank you for asking.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, great to have you here. Great to see you outside of the office as well.
Right?
Yeah.
I love the environment, by the way. It's really awesome.
Yes, well, yeah, it's lovely to see everybody here today. So I guess we can start off by introducing some of our very esteemed engineers. So Sim, do you want to start us off? And you want to tell us a bit about what you do and who you are?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for that. My name is Sim Chiwanza. I'm an engineer in the technology risk division. And basically what that means is I have a frontline role to reduce operational risk within the company and to make sure that we are continuously growing and staying off the bad track.
Ah, very important role indeed, Sim.
Definitely.
Beatrice, do you want to tell us a bit about what you do and who you are?
Of course. Hello, everyone. I'm Beatrice. I'm also in the Technology Risk Division. I sit within this cloud security architecture team, so I take care of reviewing architectural patterns and designs before they go live.
Right. My name is Daniel. I'm not in tech risk, the both of them. I'm in the AI co-pilot team. My team is responsible for enabling co-pilots across the firm. Happy to be here.
Great. Well, really happy to have you all here, especially working in such very integral parts of the firm, I would say. Well, I don't know what we would do without you guys. So now I would love to get started just kind of getting to know you guys. So let's start off with a few warm-up questions. So Beatrice, I would love to know what inspired you to pursue your current career path?
Okay, yes, so good question. So I went to university here in the UK. In my last year of university, I was studying computer science. I took some security modules, really enjoyed what I was studying, especially cryptography, network security. So my first job was actually not at Goldman, it was in a consulting company. And my first job was to be an ethical hacker. So in a consulting way, so going to different clients and perform attack simulations. So that's kind of how I ended up at Goldman. Then I decided to go in-house, leave consulting, and that's where I am now.
Wow, that is an incredible career path, Beatrice. Can't wait to hear all about it, some more questions. So Sim, would love to know if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go and why?
That's a great question. And I've been thinking about my answer to this. And I have to say, it's no one particular country, but there's something that I'm looking for. And that thing that I'm looking for is peace. So anywhere on the world where there is peace and people are living in community with each other, I want to be there. And I hope that one day that is the entire planet, just so I can travel everywhere.
I love that. It's very presidential. I love that. So I hope to find a place like that myself one day, honestly.
I'm pretty sure you will.
Oh!
Fingers crossed.
No, now you said that, now I believe it.
That's such a good answer. I was going to say like Japan. Well done.
Thank you, Beatrice. I'll see you at work. Tell everybody about it.
Okay, on that one. Daniel, now I guess we need to know, who has been the most influential person in your life and what did you learn from them?
I've been thinking about the question too. I'd say the most influential person in my life at the moment is my older brother. I don't think he knows this anyway. And the reason I say that is because it's always good to have an older sibling. I mean, think about it. If you're working, like you want to create a PowerPoint presentation, you'll always work faster if you have a template. That's the same way I see an older sibling. Like, you have a template that you can follow. Someone that you can just, I don't know, in some ways copy-paste. So he's been a very good role model for me in that way. So, yeah.
Oh, it's very beautiful. It's nice to know that you have a role model that you can kind of say, look, I'd love to be that when I grow up. So, do you think you got there now, Daniel? Do you feel like it?
I mean, I've got younger siblings, so I also have to be a role model as well. So.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I mean, being here today, I'm sure being very inspirational for all of them. So, yeah, amazing. Well, thank you all for that. I guess now we can start going on with some of the questions. So, I guess we'll start off with something where you can kind of get to the meat of what we're really here today to talk about, which is how to be the most impactful and how to really break down technical concepts into much easier bite-sized chunks. So I guess I would start with Daniel. Can you recount a time when you've received a vague concept from stakeholders? How did you articulate the underlying complexities in order to share like a clear understanding and really understand how to execute this process and really give them the easy way to do this and understand this?
Yeah, so in corporate engineering, this is like one of the kinds of situations you find yourself. Vague concepts. Your manager will walk up to you and tell you, "Oh, we have this challenge, and we have to do something about it." What does that mean? So like you always want to try as much as possible to clarify the situation. And I could just give you a brief run through of how I've done that in the past. I had a situation where we designed a product, and it was supposed to work, let's call it an XYZ process for users. But users were using it in ABC format. So my manager just showed up and he was like, "Oh, this is what's happening, and let's find something to do about it." So it wasn't clear, like, what was he expecting, to get done with this? Do you want us to make users use it the right way? Do you want us to decommission the project? So how you could deal with this kind of situation is to, paint a clear picture. You want to understand who are the different drivers in this kind of situation, who are the stakeholders. Like you put your manager as one of your clients, you put the users as one of your clients, you put the engineers who designed the project as one of your clients. You also put maybe the sponsors as well, like people who are expecting a return on investment on this project as one of the clients. And then you make out time to speak to all of them so you can paint the right picture. And then you can come up with a proposal. In my situation, I remember going back to my manager and I told him, okay, if we were to, nudge users to go on, to switch from ABC to XYZ, this is what we stand to gain, this is what we stand to lose. And this is how it's going to impact our return on investment. We would lose users, but we would make more money. Okay, and if we let them keep doing this, we would retain users, but, we might lose money. And then I'll come up with my own decision. Okay, this is what I think we should do. We should find a good balance between the two, so that we can keep making more money and keep retaining users. So I think this applies to any kind of project you're working on. It's a good opportunity for you to show your decision-making skills, to show your stakeholder management skills, and ambiguous projects they're always like that. It's an opportunity to sink or swim. And you can swim if you clarify the project as much as possible. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that answer, Daniel. Honestly, it's hard to measure up whether or not you have to take into consideration user experience or the business. And I think you gave a really great overview as to what you would do in those situations. So thank you, Daniel. Sim, I would love to get your take on the question. So just to recap it for you. So please, you can recount a time when you received a vague concept from stakeholders. How did you articulate the underlying technical complexities to foster a clear and shared understanding of the execution process and its implications?
Sure. Thanks for reiterating the question. I love what Daniel just said right now. He took a lot of initiative, and I think it's very important to take initiative, especially when things aren't clear. We live in a world that is volatile, ambiguous, very complex, but I think individuals that take leadership and put it upon themselves to own something, to ask the right questions, to try and clarify the problems, are generally the individuals that get things done. And for engineers, I think that's such a very important skill. It's a very, very important skill to ask questions, and once you've asked a question, to listen. And once you've listened, to take feedback, and more importantly, do something about it. So the leadership thing that Daniel just spoke about right now, I just wanted to clarify that a little bit to say, to be honest, that's by and large going to be one of the indicators of success for anybody in any organization trying to simplify very complex topics to people in the room. Take ownership of the conversation, lead the conversation, ask questions, get everybody participating. Some people might not want to talk, but if you create the environment that allows people to communicate, to talk, you get a very diverse set of information, feedback, and that's very important. Diversity is important, and diversity of thought is even more important. So I love leadership, and I love awesome questions, and I think Daniel just hit it on the nail on the head.
No, really, thank you so much for giving your take on this. And yes, leadership is a huge thing in the firm, and to really hone down on how important it is. I think Beatrice as well. Please give us your insight on that.
I think the insight I can give is what can go wrong when you don't do what Sim and Daniel were going through. And I can give a personal example of a time where one of my leads asked me to think about redesigning. I think it was a concept on redesigning how we integrate sandbox environments with non-sandbox environments within the firm. So very, very big concept. There could be thousands of answers and different angles to look at this from. And I am coming from my 7 years of experience. I was like, say no more. I know what I have to do. I'll come up with a documentation. I'll write it down. I'll write it up. I'll write up a proposal. And I took a good week doing all of this. And then I gave this to my manager, and he said, "Wait, this is not what I asked. I was only interested in the connectivity piece of that project. You went through everything, and you wrote up a really thorough proposal, but the connectivity piece is actually really small." So the lesson learned is actually, yes, ask your questions, come up with what are the actual requirements that are being asked of me, and before you jump the gun and you go and implement a proposal and come up with data points. That's my advice.
I think that's really great advice, honestly, Beatrice. I think we've all been in a position where we've jumped the gun and gave a little bit more scope than was probably necessary at a time. I know I definitely have. So, yeah, thank you for that, Beatrice. I guess that puts us into a really great segue into tell us about a calculated professional risk that you undertook to accelerate yourself in the technical landscape. What kind of hurdles did you come through, and what kind of contribution did you feel like it had to your careers, really taking these professional risks? If you give us an example or a description, that would be amazing. Sim, shall we start with you?
Yeah, sure. This takes me back to several years ago, still early out in my career, but I had the opportunity to participate in a cloud migration. We're using one of the biggest providers out there. There's only one of 3 or 4, right? So the interesting thing is the company had taken the strategic decision at the time to do a lift and shift, to basically take everything that we had on premise and to push it into the cloud. We felt at that time that was a great strategy, and I bought into it, right, because that's the tone that was set from the top. So the strategy trickled down to the operational levels, and I had to manage one of the biggest risks that we had in the organization at that time, which was the production data that we had, very highly sensitive data, that was being utilized in lower environments. At the time, basically, we didn't have great security in certain parts of our infrastructure and applications. We wanted to make sure that this data was very secure when it is being utilized, when it's being transformed, and when it's being stored or archived. I took the initiative at that time to own that risk, my division and I. But first and foremost, back to Daniel's point, we clarified what the actual risk was. And we tried to present it to the senior stakeholders to get everybody to understand what the actual risk was, the extent of the risk, and more importantly, the impact of the risk. And all of this was just to articulate what could potentially happen to the organization if all the threats and all the bad things that we thought were going to happen actually happened. And importantly, because a lot of the people on the table were actually number crunchers, we had to put a financial angle to this as well. That was probably one of the most difficult things I had to do. Risk quantification, we could talk about that for hours on end. But I think the one thing that set me apart at that time was the fact that it was a big project, a lot of moving parts, but I was very, very keen to do it. I put myself in a situation where I'd never done something before, and to be fair, the entire organization had never done this before. We're all going on this journey together, but it was everybody putting their hands on the table to say, we're going to figure this out, and everybody's going to do their job. The guys who are making products are going to do that. The guys who are articulating risk, which is me, are going to do that. And at the end of the day, we're all going to come to the table, put our risk insights onto the table to help senior management and the board to make a decision about where we go from there. I think understanding how everything connected, how the big the puzzle came together was the outcome of that. But it came first because I took the initiative to say it's a big project, but I want to participate in it and see what I can learn. And interestingly enough, I'm still doing the same thing years later.
I guess you could say it was a risk that paid off then, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. A risk that paid off really well. And I hope that it continues to pay dividends into the future.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you so much for that answers. And I think we all learn a lot from it, honestly. Beatrice.
So from my point of view, maybe just talking about my role, I'm sort of an advisor for the firm when it comes to architectural patterns. And a few months into when I finally moved to the architecture team, one thing I noticed was that a lot of teams were asking like very similar questions around reviewing patterns to integrate with vendors, say like authentication patterns. So I kind of realized there was a little bit of a gap that we never really came up with a standard or standardized pattern to do just that. And so the calculated risk I took was documenting that, going through the whole of the processes that it takes to get a new pattern standardized, which is lots of meetings, lots of presentations, going to different forums to present. And eventually we got the pattern published so that now if you need to do something along those lines, you can get that pattern and use that. So it was advantageous for my career because now everybody refers to it as, oh yeah, B's document, her pattern, which is really nothing I came up with, I just documented it. Yeah, top tip.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing, Beatrice. I think I'll probably hear about Beatrice's pattern if I ever find my way and won my way over to Tech Risk, so I'll definitely keep my ears out for that. Yeah, also, Daniel, please tell us about a calculated professional risk you took, some hurdles that came with it, and how it contributed to your career.
I mean, Sim and Beatrice already gave like very good examples. I'll just cap it up by saying that I'll just say like a lesson first and then give the example. I'd say the lesson is to always evaluate trade-offs. When it comes to calculated risk, it's always a situation of having competing priorities at the same time. Like maybe you're working on 2 or 3 projects that are very high level or high visibility. So you're trying to make a decision as to which one is more important than the other. In my situation, I joined a new team like a few weeks in, and they had this problem where we were designing a dashboard for users, and users did not have access to this dashboard. And we also had an internal problem where we were compiling the dashboard very manually. Like the dashboard, the data, everything, we were compiling manually. And even when we visualized the data, the users couldn't have access to it. So that was a two-front problem. But we had limited engineering resources. So what that means is, it's like you only have like one person working on 2 fronts. So in my situation, I had to call a trade-off, like where do we focus more of our efforts to give us the highest ROI? And the way I was able to get about that was to evaluate trade-offs. Like if we were to spend more hours working on compiling the data that we cannot give to the users, would that make us money or lose us money? I recall one of my mentors in the past, he said that if you have priorities and you want to make a decision, ask yourself, if you fail to do one thing, will the firm lose money or will they make money? Or if you fail to do something else, would everything just keep on working but not up to standard? So that's just like the same thing I use for all of my decision making. Like if it's going to lose its money, then it's definitely higher priority. I think how I came about the framework to self-service for our users was that way, because if the users did not get the product, we can't really make any money. So that changed like how I onboarded into the project, and it was very easy for my managers to see that I could make a decision like very quickly and on the spot. Because like if you're joining a new team, everyone is eager to see you prove yourself, and if you're a very quick decision maker and you can actually communicate why you're making a decision, it's a lot better than if you stall and you're not making any progress. So that's how this kind of thing actually factored into my experience.
Thank you for that, Daniel. That was really insightful. And I think a lot of people in the audience might end up joining the firm, and I think one of the one of the great things to think about when doing so is how do you want to make an impact? You know, can you take into consideration the business implications and also thinking about our bottom line, our financial optics? You know, so
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Daniel. I think that brings us on to a great topic to talk about next, which is mentorship within the firm. You know, I think mentorship is a word that gets thrown around very often. You know, sometimes it's even hard to know what it really means. What's sponsorship? What's mentorship? You know, so I would love to hear from all of you. But let's start with Daniel this time. Actually, I would.
Okay, sure.
I feel like after you just give us that great answer, you might as well continue on.
Going, right?
Exactly.
I know. I mean, okay,
Yeah.
mentors. I mean, I used to work for a non-profit before I joined GS, so I understand this concept very well. You know, we used to do a lot of mentorship for undergraduate students back in the day. So, mentorship is a very touchy subject for me, and that's because of my background in that space. I'd say if you were, there's two ways to go about it. You can choose a mentor, or a mentor can choose you. But whichever one it is, you have to be able to define that relationship. And you can have mentors for different purposes. I think Sim can dive deeper into that one, but I'll focus on career mentorship. And I'll just like highlight that my most recent role, moving from different team into the AI team, was as a result of mentorship. When I was having like problems, like, you know, challenges, as I'll call it, in my previous role, I just reached out to my mentors and I just told them, oh, hey, look at what's happening. You know, I gave them the long and the short of it, and they kept me like at the back of their head. And I did not know that they were speaking for me in rooms that I was not a part of. And that's what mentorship does for you. Like, it has to be pretty much defined. You have to bring yourself to the table. It's really career mentorship. And if you don't have any career goals, it's something that it's worth speaking to a mentor about. Like, help them help you define your career goals and help them help you walk the path of your career goals. You know, if there are any gaps in your skills that you need to fill in, you get that done, and then you wait for the opportunities, because your mentors are constantly looking for people to refer. You know, I know most of you here are going to be out here looking for mentors, and you want someone to refer you. I promise you, that's like the easiest thing. It's much more easier for someone to actually refer you. You hear that, you know, when people are recruiting for roles, they're like, oh, we'll give the referrer 10%. Who doesn't want 10%? But of course, you have to refer the right person. And that is built from a relationship, like a mentor-mentee relationship. So I'd say, you know, capitalize on mentor-mentee relationships, define it properly, you know, use your mentor so he can help, or they can help you define your career goals, the skills that you need, and the opportunities that you're looking for, especially when it comes to your career. I'll stop here so I don't exhaust everything.
No, that was a great answer, Daniel. I think it really goes to show that a lot of people in the audience and a lot of people in the firm with us really rely on mentorship to help us make career moves and to help us provide guidance to us when we're not really sure where we're going in careers or where we want to go in our careers. So thank you. I think that was a great answer, Daniel.
Thank you.
So yeah, Sim, I would love to hear as well, like, has there been a mentor that provided you some guidance throughout your time, or, you know, impacted your approach to, you know, how you navigate within the firm or any time in your career?
Definitely. And again, like Daniel said, it's a topic that's really close to my heart. Beatrice said something a little early on where she did a piece of work, you documented something, you got recognition for it. And I hope, Beatrice, you can talk a little bit about sponsorship too. But I think one of the things that a mentor can do is to recognize your skills and your abilities and guide you in terms of how you can make the most of those. But more importantly, I think if there's anything that we do very well at Goldman Sachs, and Sharon told me to say this, I've only been there for about 8 weeks, if there's anything that I think the company does really well is manage risk. Otherwise, I mean, we wouldn't be around for a century and then some, right? So you can look at mentorship as a method to manage risk of your career or your personal life turning to nothing, right? I think if you look at it from that perspective, you then go into it with a goal. You're not only seeking mentorship because everybody else has a mentor, but you're seeking mentorship to manage the risk of not reaching a particular goal. And when you take that approach, you basically always look for the path of least resistance, the path that takes you to where you want to be. And that allows you to make the best of your mentor. Generally, people go into a mentorship relationship and the mentor cannot even help the mentee because the mentee either does not want to be part of this relationship, but they did it because somebody else said they should, or maybe they're just not, coming to the party, right? But if you take the approach of managing risk of your own personal life or your career, you then have a stake in it. It's something that you truly want to achieve. Otherwise, you wouldn't be trying to manage the risk so that you're able to achieve that goal. That allows you to focus. You're able to clear out the noise and focus on 1 or 2, 3 things that you want to achieve. It becomes virtually simple to identify things that could stop you from reaching that goal. And when you're looking for a mentor, it's mentors that can help you alleviate those risks.
Thank you, Sam. You really, really touched on some very important parts of mentorship.
Thank you.
Yeah, especially, honestly, showing up and being present, because I think we all have times where we have external circumstances outside of our lives that may come into our work, and being able to still make sure that you can show up and be your best self, you put those things aside, and also show up in your mentee and mentor relationship. So important. And
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
of course, and I guess we're coming to a close now, but Beatrice, when we would be remiss if we didn't get your answer. Please tell us about your time with your mentor.
Of course, of course. And for all the introverts out there, I will say I'm very much an introvert myself. When I first came across the mentoring, what it is, sponsorship, I was very much, okay, no, this is not for me. I'm an anxious person. I don't want to find a mentor. Somebody will find me. But I moved to the UK, I started university. I thought, my academic achievements will bring me to great success. And the first thing one of my professors told me, first year of uni, was, no, you need to look at he became one of my mentors, coincidentally. You need to look at the opportunities in front of you, examine how they can help you, and just go and grab them. Then fast forward 10 years, I'm here now, and I joined Goldman. There's lots of great opportunities at Goldman, especially around mentoring. You're assigned a mentor when you join. There's lots of mentoring opportunities that you can sign up to, so just like mentoring circles. So I signed up to one. It was a mentoring circle with the technical leaders of the firm, and I thought, I'm very busy with my day job, but it could bring some good opportunities. I remember what my mentor had told me 10 years before, and I said, okay, I'll do it. Maybe it will be useful. And then one of my mentors from my mentoring circles, shout out to Lawrence, told me about this opportunity, and he said, oh, you should totally apply to be at the BTF panel. So I think a good full circle moment, and now I'm here. I got to talk to all of you, and it's been a great experience. So yes, do look for mentors. And thank you.
And thank you so much, Beatrice. Thank you, Sim. Thank you, Daniel, for your time today. And thank you all for tuning in. I'm Ayana Douglas. And thank you for hearing us speak today and hearing from some of our esteemed engineers. We hope you have a great time at the rest of your time at Black Tech Fest.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Ayana.
Thank you very much.